Doomsters. Welcome to Music for the End of the World. Here on 93.7 Edge FM in the beautiful Bega Valley. And I'm Chris, as always, and I'm joined tonight once again, because she wasn't here last week, is Cass. Hello, Cass.
Good evening, everyone.
Good to have you back. And we've got some great music lined up tonight. Some more songs from the Triple J Hottest 200 to 100 Aussie hits, but also some other ones. You chose
a little bit of a mix.
A bit of a mix. You wanted a bit of a Tracy Chapman tune.
I did, because I particularly like that song.
It is a good song and quite...
And I thought it was, very relevant.
Relevant,
very relevant
pertinent.
To everything going on in the world at the moment.
To what's happening now, people. And I've got a special song for our newest member of our family, because we have just got a new grandchild has come into the world. Had a home birth at the farm, and as Frank was talking to me before, saying, end of the world, what's going on? You got a new grandchild, and he's saying why, and I don't know why. All I know is you got to do what makes you happy, in these end times. And I got to say, our newest little member certainly makes me happy, Cass. Makes you happy?
Absolutely.
She is a little joy.
She's a little ray of sunshine.
A
you
little
might
ray
say.
of sunshine. Yeah. Talking wise, what are we talking about? Collapse tonight, Doomsters. Well, I thought I've been getting into the Sentinel site blogs, particularly Jessica Wildfire, which I was talking a little bit about her. Was it last week?
Last week, yeah.
Last week.
Yeah.
And
when do you know when do you actually acknowledge or recognise
when do you
collapse
acknowledge
is happening?
collapse?
Yeah.
That's right. What does it take? What does it take for people to actually go, yeah, all right, it is all tumbling down. Technology won't save us. The tech bros are not going to save us. They're going to be off over New Zealand in their bunkers. So yes, I'm using a little. I'll be looking a little bit at another article that Jessica wrote about. Basically, it's about the stages of grief, because that's what it is. I mean, when you come to the realisation, as we have, Cass, about the reality of our predicament, a huge, overwhelming sense of grief comes along with that. Well, I mean, is there anything bigger than extinction of our species? I mean, is there anything bigger? I mean, look, it's terrible what's happening all around the world. Look at the Holocaust that's happening now 24/7 on our screens over in Gaza, with those fascists over there killing Palestinians. There's all sorts of things happening. You look at the Orange Man over there, and now he's declared martial. What is it? He's taken over the police. National Guard over Washington. All this sort of stuff. And yeah, that is all absolutely terrible. But I mean, nothing's bigger than the extinction of our species. Not to mention most of the other species on the planet. I mean, that's a big one. Nothing gets bigger than that, surely. Man on the Moon pales into tiny little insignificance about that. Anyway, we're going to be talking about the stages of grief, people. Because Doomsters, as you know, we're all going through it. And we're all on our different journeys. And everyone will go through it, whether or not they come to the realisation now or later. They're all going to go through these stages of grief. And so that's what we're going to be talking about tonight, I think. Particularly, Cass, as it relates to young people. And I should make a disclaimer here, or not a disclaimer, what's the word when you're clarifying? What's a young person?
Make a clarification.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like, we're not young.
A definition.
I feel young. I feel like I was 21, but we're realistically we're not. But what would you say, young people, darling? What's your cutoff?
Well, I think we talked about it. I think we sort of went young. Young to me, I suppose, is like to 35, 37.
35, maybe 40, I reckon.
Yeah.
40 and younger.
And it's not that you're old, but
No.
it's just that thing about when, and everyone can be young in spirit and young in heart, but it's more, when do you sort of, I suppose, what do you class as youth?
Exactly.
Interesting. So I remember in the Solomons that they'd talk about youth, and then they were talking about people that were 25, and I was thinking, in the West we had a much narrower frame
Yes.
for that, and it was almost like youth was like up until really
Up until you vote.
up until you vote till
Yeah.
18, and you're going, of course you're still a youth. You're still a youth in your
Absolutely.
20s and into your 30s. So
I felt a youth my whole life. Yes, so, but particularly about the young people because, well, we'll talk about it a little bit later, but I reckon we're letting them down. We have quite a few lovely sponsorship messages to get through tonight, so we might just quickly start off with two very special sponsorship announcements from our sponsors here on 93.7 Edge FM, without whom, as I always say, we would not be able to function. And then we'll be back with some music.
E2B Phone Repairs has been fixing the phones of the Bega Valley since 2013. E2B repair mobile phones and tablets of all brands and replace screens, batteries, buttons, sensors and cameras, and all repairs come with a 6-month warranty. E2B has done over 20,000 repairs since they opened and still repair in Bega every Thursday morning. They have a new Bega location at 99 Carp Street with entrance via Canning Street. If your phone or device is not coping with your life, give E2B Phone Repairs a call on 0490 010 109. That's 0490 010 109. E2B Phone Repairs is a proud sponsor of 93.7 Edge FM.
Barry Lee has been operating heavy machinery in the Bega Valley for over 30 years, and Barry loves his job. If you need your block or house site cleared, a new driveway or road, a new dam or a dam cleaned out, Barry is the man to see. With his big Komatsu excavator, no job is too big or too small, and with laser levelling, nothing is left to chance. Call Barry at Lee's Excavator Hire on 0415 260 525 for a free quote. That's 0415 260 525. Lee's Excavator Hire, a proud sponsor of 93.7 Edge FM.
Thank you, dear sponsors. Okay. Yes, we're going to go straight away with a song before we start talking about the stages of grief that we're all going through, Doomsters. And this, of course, is for our brand new little granddaughter, who is, how many days old is she, Cass?
5 days old.
5 days old. So tiny. So tiny. Perfect, though. Perfect, but tiny. Such joy. And she really is a little ray of sunshine.
Her father says she has to have a name, not the same as her mom's, but a name just the same. A little ray of sunshine. They want the big lighters coming to the world. A little ray of sunshine in the shape of a girl. Show her the dress that she'll wear with the gold flowing hair that nature provided. A little ray of sunshine has come into the world. My little ray of sunshine in the shape of a girl. We are. A little ray of sunshine She looks good in the pink. A grandma's border. Our own little daughter. Yeah. Oh, baby. She can make you feel good. She can make you feel that it's all worthwhile. Only by her smile. Only by her smile. Have you noticed? He's just like her father. I think that I'd rather her hair was much. Yeah, okay, all right, enough of the hair jokes. A little ray of sunshine has come into the world. Oh, a little ray of sunshine in the shape of a girl. Ooh, baby, she can make you feel good. She can make you feel that it's all worthwhile. Oh, hey, see, come on. Only by her smile. You know what we saying? Only by her smile. Now I'm talking about a little ray of sunshine. A little ray of sunshine. Ooh, my little ray of sunshine. Yeah, yeah. I'm a little ray of sunshine. Sing it out. A little ray of sunshine. Oh, a little ray of sunshine. Little ray, little ray, little ray, little ray, little ray, little ray of sunshine, baby. Ooh, my little ray of sunshine. Sweet little ray of sunshine. My sweet little darling. A little ray of sunshine. Thank you, folks.
Little Ray of Sunshine. That was for Sophia. That is by Axiom, who Glenn Shorrock was the lead singer of Axiom. Yeah, and that was a
it's
live
got a-
version, obviously.
It's got a real sort of Cocker feeling, don't you think?
Joe Cocker.
Yeah, the feeling of that song.
Oh,
I think that's
Mad Dogs and Englishmen tour. You mean that
yeah,
that
kind
record?
of that kind of vibe.
Yeah, could be, could be. I really like the live version though. It was great. Really nice. Okay, Doomsters. Talking about stages of grief. Now, you're familiar with the stages of grief, Cass. And the stages of grief, I think, first emerged, first sort of came into being in, if I'm correct, Elizabeth Kubler-Ross's 1969 book On Death and Dying. And since then, psychologists have expanded her original stages, ultimately giving us 7. And I've got to say, from my experience coming to grips with the reality of our predicament, and I dare say you're the same, Cass, it fits like a coffin, my friend. It's right there.
I think the thing though, like with everything, and I'm sure you talk about that in reference to that article, but the whole thing too about stages of grief though is that it's not a linear process,
No,
and so it's
that's
sort
very
of,
important to
it's
understand.
cyclical, and so
Yes.
you might say I relate to that, I don't relate to that.
And
I
you
don't relate to
bounce
that,
back and forth
but you
between,
go between
them
and,
all.
and then eventually you'll sort of will hit those
And it
different ones.
never ever finishes. That's that's the key thing. It's
Yeah.
not like, oh, you go through grief and bang,
No,
it's
that's right.
finished,
You know,
and now
good
it's everything's
and over.
hunky dory. No, it's for life.
Yeah, but
But-
it's coming to terms. I think it's. I mean, grief is always about coming to terms with that loss. You never.
That's what
you
it's
you
about.
never get over it, but you.
Yeah, and as Jessica Wildfire says,
sense.
and people, if you haven't come across Jessica Wildfire before, she writes for the Sentinel, and if you could Google that and find out about her very easily. She writes many excellent,
Yeah, and really accessible. Really.
really accessible, really well written, and she's
Easy to
just
read.
spot on. I find her spot on anyway with the way that I think. And like she says, most of the world still lives in the first 2 stages, somewhere between disbelief, which is the first stage, and denial, which is the second one. Most of the world lives between those two stages about our predicament, which basically is the impending collapse of civilization and the end of the world as we know it, finally leading into the extinction of our species, Homo sapiens, along with most of the other millions of species on this planet. They reject, the science on carbon emissions, overshoot, overpopulation, overconsumption, over-reliance on fossil fuels, and just about everything else. You just got to look at the news every day, particularly from America. When you talk about megafires or superstorms or 1 in 100 years or 1 in 1,000 years, floods, atmospheric rivers, famines, a huge silence shifts over the mainstream media.
Although however, as I said, I am definitely noticing, just picking up and seeing more stories or more account. Like there's more. It's not dealing with it, but just touching on the surface that's alerting people to it's not all right.
It is happening. There are little spaces in our mainstream media where people are coming along and talking about some of these predicaments, some of these problems associated with the predicaments, but they never actually go to the final stage, though, Cass. That's what I find annoying, really, because it's the final step, which is admitting that there is no solution, there is no turning back. We are going over the cliff, regardless of what we do. There is no hope, really, for the future of humanity. That's basically it. There's no hope. I mean, there's hope for other things, but not for the continuation of our species and life as we know it on this planet. There is no hope for that. That's over. That is going. And they just can't take that last step, which I find a little bit annoying. That's why I spoke last week, I think, was it last week or the week before, Cass, about David Suzuki saying there is no hope now.
A couple of weeks ago.
Yeah. He's he's the first major media, well-known scientific personality to have come out and said that. I mean, there are many other scientists. I mean, James Hansen, Guy McPherson, Bill Rees. There's a whole bunch of people, but they're not as well known as David Suzuki. Most people know David Suzuki, just like most people know. And this is what pisses me off, Cass. I don't know how you feel about it. With David Attenborough, everyone knows good old Attenborough, right? He's done so many wildlife documentaries about everything, and yet he hasn't come out. I mean, he's come close to it.
No,
he's
that's
warned
right.
us if.
No, but he hasn't come out with a definitive. He hasn't come out definitively to say this is irreversible.
And I just think that's piss weak. I reckon that's piss weak.
No, there must be reasons. There must be
Why?
reasons.
What is the reason? Can you think of a reason behind it? Because he's a smart guy. I mean, he's been schooled in scientific thought. He's a smart guy, and he's old. It's not like he's young and he's got his career in front of him, or research grants, or you know what I mean? Like, surely he's got enough wealth now. He lives in a nice house. Blah 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 blah.
Well,
he can risk being a pariah from society.
Maybe he just hasn't actually taken that step himself. I mean,
I really
would
hard to
presume
believe.
that anyone who's gotten to that point of thinking would talk more about it.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Anyway, a little bit disappointed with Dave. As much as I like him, and I love a lot of his. I watched heaps when I was a kid, but yeah. Anyway, so most of the world, as I said, lives in the first two stages: disbelief and denial about everything, basically. So when you talk about all the things that are happening, a huge silence is what you hear from the media. Really, there's, like you said, Cass, there are little things popping up, but it's not a big thing. And then, of course, you got your friends, your family. They don't want to talk about it. Most people don't want to talk about it. You don't talk about it at work. I can't talk about it at work. Do you talk about it at work, Cass?
No, I think as
No.
you said, it's not
No,
not a
you
topic
don't.
that you
Because
that-
what would
that
happen
people-
if you did talk about it at work?
Yeah, well, that's right. Everyone still is that point where they think you're a little bit crazy.
Crazy!
Or
You're
you're
the dude in the sandwich, with the
Doomer.
sandwich boards going around saying the end is nigh. That crazy guy walking down George Street. Yeah. So anyway, but then you reach the third stage. But we'll get into the third stage after we play another song. Cass is giving me a wind up. You want some more sponsors, do you? Yes, all right. We will play 2 more sponsors because we've got quite a few to get through tonight. They are very important to us here at 93.7 Edge FM. So here are 2 more sponsors from the people who support us.
We have 50,000 reasons why you should upgrade your Filmac fittings and valves, so visit Irrigear today. You could win $50,000. Irrigear has a great range of Filmac fittings and valves that reliably join your pipe or allow control and measurement in your pipe system. Filmac manufactures in Australia and distributes a wide range of fittings and valves through Irrigear stores nationally. Filmac is the connection you can trust. Win here at Irrigear. New South Wales Authority number TPO 3665. Visit irrigear.com.au/win here for full terms and conditions. Purchase required to enter.
Bega Irrigation, Bearing and Mower Supplies are a proud sponsor of 93.7 Edge FM.
With a vision to create an inclusive world for all, Encore Support is now offering their compassionate care and services on the Sapphire Coast. Encore supports individuals of all ages to live in their communities with a sense of well-being, independence and belonging. Call them now on 02 4402 9231. They're ready to assist. Encore Support, the more you're looking for. Encore Support is a proud sponsor of 93.7 Edge FM.
Thank you, lovely sponsors. You're listening to Music for the End of the World, as we know it, because the planet will continue zooming through the universe around the sun for 1 billion or so more years, but life as we know it will not be here. Okay, time for another song before we start getting into the third stage of grief. And this is a song by Chris Coleman, who's from Tassie, one of the really good musicians from Tasmania. And I saw Chris Coleman first time, I hadn't heard of him, at the Canberra Folk Festival, Cass, which is a terrific music festival. If people are interested in going to a nice music festival, the Canberra one is excellent. And he was playing in a side tent there, a smaller tent, not one of the main tents. And I saw him with my other daughter, who's pregnant as well. So we're going to have another grandchild in the new year. And we saw Chris Coleman, and we were so blown away by him that we bought a couple of CDs and had a chat to him, found out all we could about him. And since then, we have listened to many, many songs by Chris Coleman. And this one is...
I don't care, you get up, get dressed, wash face, breakfast, walk under street lights until you get home. Fall down, deep breath, smile, fake it, you will be fine, soon you'll be home. But even as the sun gets tired and the moon lets out her final sigh, just get up, get dressed, wash face, breakfast, and go home. far is better than too close. I tell ya, when you're walking this highway and you're on your own, that even as the crow flies high, and there's no room for doves within your skies, just get up, get dressed, wash face, breakfast, and go home. Go home. Go home. Through desert, sandstorm, blizzard, snowball, you made it through all. Now you're almost home. And now those trucks pass, wind blows, stop, start. Yes, no, just keep on walking now. You're almost home. Even when the priest tells lies, and the children at his altar cry. Just get up, get dressed, wash face, breakfast, and go home. Come home. Go home.
Ah, the talented Chris Coleman with Go Home. What a great song. And what a great concert we saw him, me and Billy, at the Canberra Folk Festival. So that's for you, Billy. Give you a shout out. Up on the sunny coast, nice and warm. All right, Doomsters. Back to our stages of grief. Now, of course, the first two, most people, you would know, and most people that we know, are in the first two. Disbelief and then denial. But of course, we went through that too, Cass. But I've got to say, I reached the third stage pretty quick because I read that essay from Catherine Ingram, essay on extinction, and that was really the jolt. That was my, what do you call it when you have that?
Epiphany.
Epiphany, thank you. And then bang, you go straight into the third stage, which of course is anger. And you got angry. And you get angry. You get angry at lots of things. You know, we fumed and vented about many things. Billionaires, fossil fuel companies, governments, all sorts of things, the media. We just got angry about it. And we still do. Like we say, you go through the stages. Of course, we're not in disbelief or denial, but we do visit. I mean, you must get angry now and then, Cass.
Yeah, of course, very frustrating, isn't it?
Very
Watching
frustrating.
how things play out and
Yeah.
the lack of attention to the
Yeah.
important things.
Yeah. You protest, you protest, you protest, and you protest. And the anger felt, like Jessica says, the anger felt justified, even righteous. You know, we got angry at celebrities and influencers for their private jets. You know, we got angry at billionaires for their hollow pledges and their relentless greed and their bloody $50 million weddings over in goddamn Venice and all that bullshit. We got angry at politicians for their cowardice and incompetence. But for most of us, I think that sort of anger evens out a little bit. And we still get angry, but maybe not as often, Cass.
Yeah, well, it's like that sort
Not
of
as
anger,
long as we used to.
that anger with our capitalist society and our like frustration and anger with, you know, advertising, which is just telling us buy more, consume more, take this, take that, when you're going stop, stop, stop.
Yeah. So, I mean, is that a bad thing not to have that same intensity of anger, do you reckon?
Well, I think you don't want to live
No.
Like in a large part of your life
Exactly.
having that sensation. So I think you need. It's like anything you have.
Yeah.
You may have those emotions, and I think you have to sit with them and experience them. But absolutely, like negative emotions don't obviously help you have a
No.
meaningful
right.
life. So it's a thing
That's
about use that energy from
Yes.
that and put it into something positive.
Just like Pill says, use that energy. That's right, yeah. I mean, of course, some of us still feel anger running through us. Like I said, when you read about whatever his name is, that billionaire bastard who had that,
Oh, the big wedding.
yeah,
Yeah.
over in Venice, or some, dopey activist that's comments about hope and doom and, they're all just talking about doom and they're so nihilistic and blah, blah, blah. And there's nothing wrong with that, Doomsters, is there? There's nothing wrong with that. Feel angry about that. Even amongst the climate activists, there's a widespread and palpable rage at anyone who doesn't share their optimism. Just like the greenwashing, the green energy revolution. Like, why can't you be hopeful about that, Chris? Instead of getting angry at how it's going to just ruin the planet quicker than even if we didn't have the green energy. When someone explodes in anger at you for talking about collapse, even if they seem to know what's going on, you've got to understand that it's their grief talking, Cass. It's their denial or disbelief. They're still coming to terms with the predicament. It's a tough one. So that's how many stages have we gone through?
That's 3.
That's 3. Just 3.
You're doing well there. You
Thanks,
seem to
mate.
get caught going around on
Yeah,
those.
I am going around a bit. Well, that's what it is, though. That's what the stages of grief are. Like you said at the beginning of the show.
Absolutely.
It's a circular thing.
And it's also-
not a linear journey.
But it's also, when I say circular, it's also saying that you don't progress through those steps in that necessary sequence as well. Like the sequence can be different, but you're likely, through your grieving experience, you are likely to come across or experience those different things, but it doesn't have to be that in that progression. So that's the other thing too, which is obviously confusing for people as well when you're trying to work out why is it that I'm feeling this way. Just to be mindful that there are different phases that you will pass through, come back to, and that's all very natural in processing grief.
Yeah, that's right. So before we get on to the
Fourth one we're up to.
Thank you. The 4th stage. I'm going to play another song. And, of course, every week, babe, what is the band that we love here on Music for the End of the World? Tell me.
Me first.
Yes.
And
The Gimme Gimmes. Yep. I don't know if I've played this song before. I'm pretty sure I have because it actually is my favourite song of the Gimmes.
I think you say that about most of their songs, but I do
They're
know you
all
like
my
this
favourites.
one.
This is my special favourite one. And I believe it's a Chris Christopherson original. And like most of the Gimme songs, when you listen to the original songs, oh my God, no wonder I don't know them because they're absolute rubbish. But somehow or other, when the Gimmes play them, they just transform them into these fantastic musical Taj Mahals. Anyway.
Mini Taj Mahals.
Mini Taj Mahals. Anyway, here we go with the Gimmes and Sunday Morning Coming Down.
Well, I woke up Sunday morning with no way to hold my head that didn't hurt. And the beer I had for breakfast wasn't bad, so I had one more for dessert. Then I fumbled in my closet, through my clothes, and found my cleanest sturdy shirt. And I washed my face and combed my hair, stumbled coming down.
Yeah, gibbies. Oh, we love it so much, don't we, Cass? Sunday morning coming down. What a cracker of a song. Okay, peeps, you're listening to 93.7 Edge FM, music for the end of the world, and we're talking about the stages of grief, because that's what happens when you come to the realization of our ecological overshoot predicament that we are in as a planet. It's tough. Okay, so we've got up to anger, which is the third stage, and then, of course, after anger, Cass, comes bargaining. So bargaining, it's sort of that makes sense for some of us to have gotten interested in, say, prepping, see what we could do to increase our odds. And so you learn a lot. We're learning a lot about farming. You develop useful skills. But the more we learn, the more that we realise the truth that, hey, it doesn't really matter because we're all going down over the cliff. We're not just going up against a handful of disasters. Society isn't simply going to revert back to the 19th century. It's not like we're all going to become, all hunters-gatherers or anything like that. We're in the middle of a mass extinction event caused by us, and things are going to get brutal.
And even in the sense of like when people are not, people don't necessarily have to be grieving about the extinction aspect of it. It's just a thing about change, because what we're saying is that the world will not be as it has been. So the kind of childhood that we may all have had, where there was plenty of nature, there was plenty of water, there was plenty of fresh air, there were plenty of resources and things. Life seemed like really we were going on this really great development curve that life just, we're being told it just gets better and better, and we just get better things and more things and these improvements.
Until it doesn't.
And then you realise that what we're talking about is that that will not sustain, and that will all drop off, and that means that the things that we had,
but you still see heaps of preppers. I mean, not that we're preppers, but I read a lot about them, and that they're still in the bargaining phase. If they stockpile enough food, they have enough gardens, grow enough gardens, build strong enough community. But they're still in denial, really, about what's been set in motion. They still haven't come to terms with it. And of course, as Jessica writes, bargaining can take a lot of different forms. Millions of people out there believe that if they build enough solar panels and wind turbines, they can prevent the collapse, or at least keep it from touching their lives. The billionaires are certainly trying to do that. They're trying to bargain themselves with the collapse. They believe they can build the perfect bunker over in New Zealand or Tassie or Alaska or wherever it is to insulate themselves from it all. Or they want to colonise outer space. So that's bargaining. After bargaining, guilt. So some of us have felt a lot of guilt over the way we've lived. And at the worst, you feel guilty every time you flip on a light or boot up your computer. You feel guilty about every piece of plastic. You regret the petrol you burned on your way to work. You feel like you didn't do enough. You didn't protest enough. You didn't vote enough. And then, I like this, as Jessica says, at some point you realise that you're just a tiny part of a massive system with the momentum of 1,000 freight trains. And if a hurricane clawing the mountaintops of Appalachia didn't wake people up, what chance did you stand? It's I've gone past the guilt pass. And then after guilt comes, and this is the second last one, depression, the sixth stage. And that's I sort of go between anger, guilt, and the last phase, of course, which is acceptance. But, depression is a pretty bad thing. And we've both gone through bad times with it, Cass. A sense of loneliness, futility. Maybe you wonder what's the point. Maybe you look at your options and your future prospects, and it makes you want to cry. And worse, you might feel a deep, bottomless dread. As all of history, all of science, all of that comes together. And as Jessica writes, these are the nights you stay awake wondering how you could have been so foolish to think that solar panels would ever save the world, or a few barrels of water would protect your family from a drought that lasts years. And as psychologists remind us, these stages aren't linear. Like you said, babe, you can move back and forth between them. I go through anger and depression a lot. How about you?
Most very touch on, different stages. Don't know if, I sort of don't feel like I stay in any of those phases you don't
stay in them too long. You
it's sort of
vacillate between them.
It might be a passing
But I mean,
thing, and
this vacillation can stretch on for, well, months, years. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, I came to terms with it more than 5 years ago or something like that, and I'm still vacillating between.
Yeah, still coming to terms with it.
Coming to terms with it. That's right.
Yeah.
I mean, depending on your size and scope of your loss. I mean, when you're mourning an entire civilization, an entire planet, an entire future, it's going to take a while to come around to it.
Major thing to get your head around.
But
and it depends what else is happening in your life and where you're putting your energy. I think it's when you sort of go into that thinking mode, but you're not sort of able to take any positive action or changes in your life, that it's very easy to sort of stay in a more of a depressed state. Whereas I think finding like-minded people, doing positive things, it's not to say that you don't have different thoughts, but it's also the thing.
But it's like what Just Clap says about thinking local and building community relationships. You get a lot of value and a lot of
and that's
enjoyment,
a lot of
joy,
exactly,
out of doing that.
Yeah. And it's also the fact that, as far as human psychology, is that you can't, you can never spend, long periods of time in any state. I mean, you cannot be endlessly joyous about life, because that's also, it's almost,
you end up in a lunatic asylum otherwise.
And you can't, you can't, well, I mean, some people, people do exist on those extremes, but that's when it's much harder to function. But it's a thing of, stepping into that, allowing yourself to think about it, but looking at what you have around you.
Well, not concerns me, but what I think about sometimes, and I heard this on a talk on YouTube, I think, between Guy McPherson, who's quite well known for his flagging the end of the world as we know it, and Kevin Hester. And Kevin was talking about saying that, yes, he's come to terms with the stages of grief, and he's come to acceptance, and he goes through the truth. But what he said that concerns him is for the young people, because as we were talking about before, the young people, there's no one to show them how to grieve, because the elders, us, aren't doing it. Like, there's nothing for them to show them the way. They're sort of left on their own to try and sort their grief out by themselves. And I just thought that was a really poignant thing that Kevin was talking about. That's true, as elders, we should be showing our young people, yes, we don't varnish the truth, we're all going over the cliff, but grief is like, when you do it communally, I don't know if it lightens the load, but it makes it more bearable than if you're on your own trying to navigate it yourself.
It's a different thing, I suppose, if you're older, maybe a little bit more experienced in life, that you tend to, you research, you sort of reach out to find different things. Whereas for younger people, some younger people absolutely will be doing their research and looking. I mean, that may also be making them feel even more isolated, because the kinds of
because they're not getting that message from their society.
Yeah, but they're not being sort of. It's not.
They're not being supported.
No, that's right. It's not being. Oh,
you've got anxiety. You've got mental health issues.
Yes.
Like you wanted to mention, like we were looking at some research about young people in Japan, how they're just sort of switching off in a way and not buying into the whole career, house and picket fence, family sort of crap that's sort of sold to the Western youth as that is your pinnacle, Well,
I think as we sort of said, that look, while our sort of our media outlets and sort of that public facing kind of information is not talking, it's not talking specifically about it and talking about ways to deal with the situation. We're certainly getting, a lot of information. You're hearing endlessly about fires, about biodiversity, about species becoming extinct, about about wars, about all the different things that are sort of collapsing, about potential financial collapse, all these things, and all of those things I think are weighing on people. So I just found it very interesting to look at what, as they're saying, what was happening in Japanese society, and they weren't talking about it in terms of, so they weren't having that discussion in terms of directly saying collapse in end of the world.
But I'm sure that has got something to do with it.
But they were talking about, I suppose it's a thing of, certainly there was collapse within the society and within that sort of age group where they feel incredibly alienated, and so where they are withdrawing and they're not they're not pursuing, they're talking about not pursuing the normal things. They're not worried about careers and jobs and promotions and buying a house and those things. They're just hunkering down, just I suppose existing, but isolating themselves. And I just think it just is it's a reflection, as we we're saying.
And it's not just Japan. Like there was
it's
this article which we might talk about next week. That it's across the world where young people are. They talk about young adults are giving up, but it's not giving up. It's just not buying into the whole bullshit that's force-fed them, from our consumerist sort of neoliberal society.
I thought that thing of, again, I think the Japanese one was, I can't remember, what did they talk about? There was a Japanese academic who coined it as being low achievement or a period of whatever it was. But I think the things which were really positive in that was it was almost like a natural adaptation, that sort of response, while it's obviously it's very distressing that people are isolated or lonely, but it was very much about them rejecting the capitalist consumer society. It was very much that they weren't interested in buying the latest, TV and lounge suite and new car and this and the other. And I thought, so that's really interesting that it was some kind of assimilating maybe what's going on. I don't know. It'd be very interesting to sort of understand more about it. But I think you can see that with all these things happening, that you were not, you subconsciously are processing.
Yeah.
As you
I
see
reckon
these
it's
things
ironic.
happen.
Like Jessica says, it's ironic that a society so fixated on mental health issues, right? You read about it all the time, wants to pass judgment on anyone who's reached this acceptance phase of their collapse grief, treating it like a sickness. Like there's something wrong with you for recognising the reality, or accusing them of giving up. Western society in particular, and Americans most particular, have developed a toxic aversion to grief, I reckon. They remain stuck in denial. They just can't handle it. But acceptance is exactly, like, on the contrary, what enables someone to live the rest of their life with a sense of meaning and purpose. Because once you come to that, we know it's happening. We've all been working our way through these stages. We've been grieving. But our lives are so much richer.
Yeah,
that.
And I think just coming back again to I think some of the points that Tristan from Just Collapse was making was the fact about you need to have truth and facts to be able to make informed decisions and to deal with things, and that's a positive thing. So it's not. Yeah. I think our society's got this idea that, well, if we accept this, that just means you go into a deep depression. But if you actually go, okay, this is the situation, then you make life choices. And it's not about saying that everybody has to do the same thing, everyone has to have the same response. That's fine, but it's just the thing of people, the truth is incredibly important, and people being given the facts and the truth and then making their own decisions is really what the most important thing is. And that's what I suppose what we're
that's what
we're
caused
struggling
me a lot
with.
of, and also, I've got grief for the end of the world as we know it, but particularly for the young people, I find it, and just like we've just had a grandchild, it's just really, you go through stages where it becomes really tough and hard.
Well, it's sad. It's sad to think about, that we've watched a few. There've been a few different. There's a lot of research happening too about just that loss of biodiversity and the phenomenal amount of insects that are disappearing, and that's a very sad thing, isn't it? To think of all those things in nature that we've just taken for granted, being eradicated.
And I'd just like to finish off with Jessica, who says that you could describe someone in the acceptance phase of collapse as collapse adjusted. Psychologists say that when we accept death and loss, we don't just get over it, we learn how to integrate it into our lives, as we'll be talking about. We still miss who and what we've lost, but we still feel sadness and anger and fear and despair and regret and everything else. And those emotions simply don't control us anymore, though. We learn how to manage them. We feel grounded again. And for some of us, that could look like spending more time with your families, taking up more hobbies, watching more sunsets, going for more hikes, listening to more music, making more art, taking more photos, or just trying to stay grounded for the time that we've got left. We don't want to waste that time churning in an impotent rage or spending every waking moment trying to control things that we can't. We're still going to observe and recognise the collapse as it unfolds, of course, but we're not going to try and bargain with it anymore. Everyone has to go through this process at their own pace. I think that's the key. And a lot of people aren't going to get there, but it's a nice place to be. And it sure beats a bunker. That's for sure. Yeah.
I think it's important as well that people also know that however they deal with it and however they go through the different stages, that, you know, that people listening to you now might sort of be on their own journey but not relate to, you know, how the different stages or your reactions to the different phases. And that's totally fine. I mean, it's like anything. It's, you know, people's journey is going to be different and they're going to respond differently. So I think it's just problematic because
it's a
there's
realisation
not people
you
to
need to
talk about
know
it.
that this is what you're going through. You're going through the stages of grief.
Yeah.
And why are you going through it? Because it's the end of the goddamn world, man. I mean, there's nothing bigger than that, you know? And that's what gets you through.
Yep, and talking about it.
Well, look at that. It's coming up to the hour,
Well,
Doomsters.
we have some more.
And we've got two more sponsor announcements and then some more music. And then a few final words. So here, and I've got to say, this is from NLB Tax Accountants. Very good. I think we use them. A couple of messages from our sponsors.
My name is Nick Benson. I'm a registered tax agent and Xero certified advisor, and I've recently moved to the Bega Valley. If you're running a business or have a rental property, or if you just need help with your tax return, I can provide tax and bookkeeping services for you, and I can make sure you maximise your deductions. Individuals, sole traders and partnerships, and even multiple years are no problem. I can prepare tax returns back to 2014. You know, it's never too late to lodge your tax return. Call me on 0494 138 552. Find me on Facebook or the web by searching for NLB Tax. NLB Tax is proud to support your local community radio station, Edge FM.
Are you looking for a quality new or used car? You can't go past the South Coast's premium motor dealers, Rondoil Motors and Eden Mazda, at 113 Princes Highway, Eden. They are dealers for Mazda, Isuzu and Nissan, as well as having a great range of quality used cars and full workshop and parts facilities. Rondoil Motors and Eden Mazda are well known for their outstanding customer service and excellent workshop. Give them a call on 64961 420 or check out the website at rondoilmotors.com.au. Rondoil Motors and Eden Mazda are sponsors of 93.7 Edge FM.
Thank you, dear sponsors. Okay, Doomsters, you've been listening to Music for the End of the World with me, Chris, and Cass in the studio. We're coming up to the end of the show. We'll be back next week. And we could talk about this for a few weeks, Cass, because this is how we deal with going over the cliff. I mean, we talk a lot about all the signposts that we're going past to go over the cliff, warming, floods, blah, 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 economic meltdown, blah, blah, blah. But how you deal with it, I think, is a really important factor. And we could spend a couple more weeks talking about it, which we may. But it is coming up to 8 o'clock, Doomsters, wherever you are. I know there's some people listening overseas, in other time zones. Appreciate you guys tuning in. And I always like to say, end of the show with my friends from Just Collapse, which is, collapse is inevitable, but justice is not. There's still many things for us we can do. So, until then, it's good night from me.
And it's good night from me.
Thanks, Cass. And I'll leave you with, this is a song that you chose, babe.
Yeah,
Tracy.
so it's very reflective of
I think so.
of the current times
Because
in regards to.
this is what we need, and it's going to happen regardless of whether people realise it or not. It will happen at some stage. Tracy Chapman talking about a revolution.
Don't you know, we're talking about a revolution. It sounds like a whisper. Don't you know, we're talking about a revolution. It sounds like a whisper. While they're standing in the welfare lines, crying at the doorsteps of those armies of salvation, wasting time in the unemployment lines, sitting around waiting for a promotion. Don't you know, talking about a revolution. It sounds whisper. Poor people gonna rise up and get their share. Poor people gonna rise up and take what's theirs. Don't you know you better run, 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 run. Oh, I said you better run, 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 run. 'Cause finally the tables are starting to turn. Talking about a revolution. Yes, finally the tables are starting to turn. Talking about a revolution, oh no. Talking about a revolution, oh, while they're standing in the welfare lines, crying at the doorsteps of those armies of salvation, wasting time in the unemployment lines, sitting around waiting for a promotion. Don't you know, talking about a revolution sounds a whisper. Are starting to turn, talking about a revolution. Yes, finally the tables are starting to turn, talking about a revolution. Oh no, talking about a revolution. Oh no, talking about a revolution. Oh no.
About a struggle, and I find a strength in myself. These words melt in my mouth, they hot like a jail cell in the